Hello, hello everybody, and sorry about that. In case anyone couldn't hear me, uh, I do go through Discord. I don't think I have to, but I do use Discord to premiere my avatar a little bit to show that I am talking. So, hello everybody, and welcome to another tabletop review. And sorry for the mistakes. There are some bloopers in this. So, moving on to tabletop review today, we are talking about a really good game. A game that came out, I believe, in 1991 and was re released in 1994 and then re released again in 2014 and beyond. And you can actually go to the actual game designer's website and the company's website and actually buy the game because I did. I bought a physical copy of the game book. Yay! So today we are talking about Cyberpunk 2020. Cyberpunk is one of my most favorite games, and one of my 2020 is one of the games I actually started out with playing before Cyberpunk Red came out in, I believe, 2020. We're talking about Cyberpunk 2020, and then Cyberpunk Red came out in the year of 2020. What a great setup. And then we also had just shortly after or during the time of 2020, Cyberpunk 2077, the video game, which Mike Pondsmith did have a hand in helping the company, helping the video game company design. So going on from there, we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2020. It is a time of it is time in a dark future where the government has collapsed, democracy is over, and corporations rose to power, and now everything is governed by money, corporate policies, and God only knows what. It is a time where cybernetic augmentation is popular. Surgeries people go for to make themselves look better, more fashionable, more up to date, where they replace the meat with chrome and hit the mean streets of many, many dark cities after a major war broke out in the early 90s. The internet is no longer just governed by computers, people viewing, as a internet browser being viewed through a view screen. Of course, most people can still do that, viewing through a regular monitor, and computer systems still exist today. But then you have other types of people that are like called net runners that can access their net, the network, the internet, security systems using their mind thanks to cybernetic augmentation. Yes, I did not practice this in front of a mirror, just so everybody knows. I am literally just pulling this out of my butt right now. So, with that intro there, we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2020 and what it provides for people. Well, this does provide accurate. This does, I wouldn't say accurate lore. Lore is only as accurate as the creator makes it to be, but it does provide lore of 2020. So, the book actually starts out, speaking about a little bit about an introduction from the creator himself, Mike Pondsmith. I even think there's a letter at the beginning of the book. I don't have the book right in front of me. It's on my bookshelf, tucked away nice and safe. So after a nice, obviously introduction that comes with all role-playing games, they get into talking about the very first topic, which are roles. When designing a characters in Cyberpunk are strictly humans, so it's an all-human-based game. So there is no other races other than human, so you don't have to worry about that. But there's different cultures and everything still. So the very first thing that it starts talking about is the different roles that when designing a character you can take on. So there's a list of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 roles. Okay. Technically there's technically 9 roles, but there's really 10. So those roles are rocker boys, rebel rockers who use music and revolt to fight authority, solos, hired assassins, bodyguards, killers and soldiers, netrunners, cybernetic computer hackers, techs, which in this book is called techies, renegade mechanics, med techies, renegade doctors, medias, newsmen and reporters who go to the wall for the truth, cops, maximum lawmen of the mean 21st century streets, corporations, slick business raiders and multimillionaires, fixers, dealmakers, smugglers, organizers, and information brokers. Nomads are the road warriors and gypsies who roam the highways. So those are the 9 rules that you get to, with a small description of what they actually are. Um, the 9 rules that you get to pick, and each one comes with their own special ability that nobody else can have. I believe you can get another you could, like, as a rocker boy, you could get a fixer special ability, but you have to purchase it as a pickup skill, and it doesn't carry the same weight as if a fixer was to use it versus a rocker boy. But we won't get much into that at the moment. We're just here to talk about about the system and the things that you get to do. So, all right, so this is a character point by system. It has, I believe, 8 or 9 statistics to follow, such as, hang on, let me get the list right here. I have the list right here. Whoops. Kind of didn't dawn on me when I was kind of making the to-do list. I gotta get the book. Give me a second. It kind of didn't dawn on me to actually, go through the statistics, but I guess I should list them off, and I think I'm going to. Just going through everything. All right, so the statistics are intelligence, reflexes, cool, technical ability, luck, attractiveness, movement allowance, which actually you get to do, movement allowance is like you're walking, and then you get to determine what your run and leap is, which is all under movement allowance, and empathy. And then you basically generate these scores by rolling for each one and then placing whatever numbers you get. It's like any other TTRPG. You roll for the numbers, and basically you can place them wherever it would best fit for you. So definitely, if you pick a net runner, like intelligence and technical ability might be more important than reflexes or an ability to fight. And then it does take you through a life path, where you, depending on how old you are, you go through the life path, and it kind of helps you generate a backstory a little bit, but also, like, if you're like 16 years old, you don't go through the life path system because you're just starting out to being a cyber runner. But if you are, like, say 35, you have to go through the life path from 16 to 35, so whatever the difference is, and then if you gain a scar from a mission, it does help you generate a bit of a backstory. And no, unfortunately, you don't get to pick it. I mean, I guess that's up to the GM if he lets you choose to pick it or not. You also get a couple lists of skills. You get a career skill list, and then you get pickup skills. The career skill list is what you actually have to have on your character, and you get to put points in them first. It gives you 40 points to put into the career skill list, including your actual skill. The special ability you get with your roll counts as a skill. And then you get a pickup skills. Pickup skills is basically your intelligence, I believe, plus your reflexes. You just add them together, and then that's how many pickup skill points you get. Unless it's mentioned right next to the skill, with like a ×2 or a ×3, it only takes up 1 point per rank. One rank only costs 1 point. If it's a skill that has a ×2 listed next to it, it's 2 points for 1 rank. And then if it has a ×3, it's 3 points per 1 rank. So you also do get a list of starting funds and to see if you're currently employed anywhere. So that way the funds can keep running in as you're doing missions from the GM. It does actually cover encumbrance, weapons and armor, and special equipment and gear list and descriptions. And actually, that is a whole entire section of the book. And it even gives you a cybernetic list. On top of the cybernetic list, it talks about what cyberpsychosis is and humanity cost. Each time that you augment yourself, you actually lose a certain cost of humanity. That cost of humanity can range from anywhere from 1 up to doing dice rolls that could be 1d6, 2d6, even a d12, or like d10s. So you could actually lose a lot. And each one is got a code listed next to it, because we do talk about surgery codes. Surgery codes actually tell you how expensive and how difficult the surgery is to augment this. Because you may not go to a regular doctor or a regular hospital to get this implanted. You may go to what you call a Ripper Doc. And Ripper Docs are basically med techs, or med techies, as it's explained in the 2020 era. Med techies, and which are basically they're gonna do your surgery in a back alley somewhere with no anesthesia. So good luck with that. It does cover system mechanics. The system mechanics is 1d10 plus a associated attribute with the skill that you're using. So what you do is you figure out what, if you're trying to do something like fight, but you're doing your fists, that would be hand-to-hand combat. Your hand-to-hand combat would be associated with reflexes or body. We'll go with body. So it's 1d10 plus your associated skill with your skill that you're using, or your associated attribute with the skill that you're using. So for hand-to-hand, you're using body. So it'd be 1d10 plus your body plus your skill. And then when you're rolling for special abilities, it'll be 1d10 plus your special ability. And depending on your result, it is also well detailed on what that special ability gives and on what number it gives you. So yeah, and it even has a section for the GMs to tell you how you should make the difficulty. Given the fact that you do roll an associated attribute with the skill, those difficulties should differ from using your special ability with the 1d10 roll. So, and if you have too much augmentation done to you and you personally don't have any humanity left, your humanity is your empathy times 10. Once your humanity reaches a certain point, you suffer from cyberpsychosis, which means you go entirely crazy and the GM controls your character and actually has your character go after the other players plus any other NPCs. They are running rampant until the character is dead. And there is no, there may not be, pretty much at that time, there is no saving. Even has a trauma team section. Trauma teams are basically doctors on the run. They're like the EMTs in your ambulance. But they don't really help you unless you actually have an insurance plan. If you're not a client and they don't think you can pay, they don't help you. They leave you for the meat wagon. The meat wagon is something that comes through and picks up the dead bodies off the street and tosses them into a junkyard. Until, their friends and family comes looking for them and go, oh, we know that guy, but, good luck going through the junkyard of dead bodies. It even has a section on what kind of drugs exist and and lore about drugs in Cyberpunk 2020, as well as I think, even has lists on, drugs in that era. It even has an entire mechanical section about how to run and play Netrunners. And then basically tells you how you would continue to do so with the game to keep the game moving at a nice pace. In this one, that was kind of the downfall. Unfortunately, that was the downfall with Cyberpunk 2020 is Netrunners would get a certain number of turns they could take each round if they were jacked into the internet, and their internet movement is way different than their actual movement. So they could do more than one thing per turn, or they could do more than one thing in a round, probably more than what you could do if you weren't jacked into the net. Like, if you were, you're doing an internet hack on a computer system. Give me 1 second. I do apologize. My throat is getting a little dry. It's winter where I'm at, and it's very, very cold, so that's probably it. So you're going to hear me crack open a can real quick. So Netrunners would have a different set of turns while being in the net. So when it's their turn, they can take all their net turns on their one turn, which could be multiple movements and attack and movements again, until the turn is over, which is determined by their special ability and whatever that score is. So that actually was part of the downfall with this book, was the net running section. However, I've pretty much maybe found a way around that, I think, because, I don't like bogged down games. I like to keep things going, which is why I've gotten into other types of games as of late. This book is actually complete with lore on Cyberpunk 2020, such as Night City and Night City. I mean, the lore is very, very slim, but I mean, it is also a core book. Excuse me for a minute. And I'm not restarting because, well, we've actually covered most of this already, which is good. So the lore there is a little bit of lore on Cyberpunk 2020 and how what has happened in the dark future. It is very broad though, because there's many different things, but essentially things are happening the same, like everywhere is the same thing. Corporations have taken over, which is the biggest thing. Dark future, cybernetic augmentations, everything that we explained, plus weapons, being able to get how you get weapons, the chaos that the dark future promotes, is happening everywhere, not just one particular type of city. However, there is a city that is there is a fictional city that is promoted in Cyberpunk 2020, and that is Night City, which we will get in a little bit on that in just a minute. This book does have a story that is called Never Fade Away, which started out as an adventure for the first edition. This is the second edition of Cyberpunk. The first edition is Cyberpunk 2013, which there are no copies or even PDFs of that book anywhere. You can't buy it anywhere as well. It is pretty much, it is the one probably Cyberpunk edition that time forgot and is lost. There is said to be copies in certain places, but the markup value is so high that it is ridiculous to buy. So, Never Fade Away was an adventure that was played in Cyberpunk 2013 by the creators themselves. I believe maybe to test run it, I'm not 100% sure. But basically is what we talked about in another video called that I talked about in Cyberpunk Talk Tuesdays. That is the life and story of Johnny Silverhand and Alt Cunningham and their friends. This book does have things on mega corporations in the 2020 with corporate profiles and a little bit of lore behind them. Not very extensive because it is, like I said, a core book. You want more extensive information on that, you should purchase a supplement book called Night City from our Talsorian Games. It talks a little bit more about Night City plus the corporations that do exist there. And then we do get a little bit of lore on Night City itself with some encounters and personalities, but nothing further from there. That is what this book has. Cyberpunk is, like I said, one of my favorite games, Cyberpunk 2020 specifically. I just bought the 2020 book, and I will be running games in the future regarding Cyberpunk 2020. There is a lot of information in here, and the book is very much worth the buy. I honestly, if you want to get into Cyberpunk, I do recommend before purchasing Cyberpunk Red, perhaps you should purchase Cyberpunk 2020 and see how you do like it. If you have already purchased Cyberpunk Red and you do like that, then check out 2020 because there's aspects of 2020 in 2020 that is not in Red because these are aspects written out that was written out of the book. Well, it wasn't really so much written out. It was written in as part of the story goes. Those aspects that are in 2020 are not in Red, such as lore aspects, story aspects. They were wiped out by the war. In 2022, 2 years after 2020, the Fourth Corporate War happened. That was actually an adventure set of books. There was, I think, 2 or 3 books for that. An adventure set of books where the Fourth Corporate War broke out between 2 corporations. Let me see what the 2 corporations was. I believe it was Arasaka, and I want to say Biotechnica, but I'm not sure. Let me look it up. I'm going to access the internet for this, because that's not something that would be in any book that I have. And it was okay, so the Fourth Corporate War was a global conflict that took place from 2021 to 2023 / 2025. I think that was because it was written differently. Involving the 2 Aqua Corps, Sino and Otech, who later hired Arasaka and Militech, respectively, to fight on their behalf. So let's look into this a little bit. Okay. So it was between 2 separate corporations, Sino and Otech. Sino, let's see here. I'm trying to find the Fourth Corporate War here, guys. Sorry. Oh, wait, we're in the Fourth Corporate War. Sorry. Trying to figure out. Okay, so it was by Sino. Sino, which stands for Corporation Corporation International Nautical et Oceanique, which was French. And then OTEC, which is Ocean Technology and Energy Corporation, which is an American maritime technology corporation. Okay, so, and it's got a Firestorm, which is what it was called. The adventure was called Firestorm, which took place during the Fourth Corporate War, and then it even has a Firestorm look and a 2020 look. Xeno only has one look. I don't know which look it is, but it was also during Firestorm. And then they later did help out. So, you know, we're going to talk more about that in another video, but basically they hired Arasaka, Xeno hired Arasaka, which is a Japanese, a fictional Japanese corporation, and then OTEC hired Militech, which is actually an American fictional corporation. So, yep, so that took place during the time of 2020. And there was, and then in 2025, where Cyberpunk Red picks up in 2025, a nuclear missile was launched, and the whole situation was nuked to stop the war, and it didn't happen until 2025. But that's something a little bit outside the scope of the review of the book we're doing today. We're doing Cyberpunk 2020. It is the second edition. It is a very good game to play. I'm actually going to be hosting some actual plays with it in the near future. I do give this game a must-buy, especially if you're into Cyberpunk Red and you like Cyberpunk Red. Check out Cyberpunk 2020. Like I said, one of the major differences that they did handle with difference between Cyberpunk 2020 and Red is how the Netrunner mechanics work. And I don't mean like the special ability mechanics. I mean how net running works, which is a totally set of mechanics separate from the main mechanics that this book shares. So this book does come complete. I would say only need the core book to run and just go with your own campaign. So, or your own mini adventures and missions to help your to help your players enjoy a good time in the world of Cyberpunk 2020. So, like I said, I can't praise this book enough. Mike Pondsmith, to me, is a visionary. Our Talsorian Games was great for re-releasing this book. I was actually happy to know that I could pick up a fresh new copy from their website, which will actually be in the description of my video here, so you can actually go check that out. And honestly, they're not ridiculously overpriced. I only paid, I think, $37 for the core book, and then all the other books are under 30, even some are under 20. So go check them out, and I hope if you guys do get in, if anyone does get in this game, I hope you guys do end up liking it, because I think it is a very good game. And that's my review on it. That is the review that I have on it for today. This game, once again, is a must-buy. So, it's definitely a must-buy. So, I do praise the game. It is a very good game. And it was one of the first games that I started out with back in early 2000s. So, it was one of the games I played just after getting into gaming after Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 edition. So, definitely a very good game. Well, we're going to stop right there because I can't praise it enough, and I keep saying it's a good game, and I think this review is more than enough for anyone to go check out. Like I said, it's a complete book full of rules, character creation, how to do everything's very well descriptive. It definitely goes through skills very descriptively, and it actually is very specific about how the skills are used, and if you have certain ranks in them, and what you can kind of do with them. So, as well as a full equipment list, it's full of mechanics such as combat mechanics, social mechanics, and stuff like that, as well as net running mechanics, and even has, lore background mechanics such as how to deal with drugs, how to deal with how the corporations work, and how to deal with gangs and all this other stuff, because it is about the dark future, so it is very dark times. Well, that is everything I have for today. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in. I very much appreciate that. That's everything that I have. I would like to say, for everyone out there, continue to work hard, play hard, game on, everybody. My famous Tabletop Junkie salute. Have a great and wonderful day.